Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling a really complex place, Venezuela.
Yeah.
The sources we've looked at paint this picture that's, well, kind of all over the map. You've got these incredibly severe official warnings on one side.
Terrifying, right?
Exactly. And then you hear from visitors, and they talk about this surprising warmth, positive experiences.
Hmm.
It's quite the contrast.
That tension is absolutely central. I mean, the gap between that official risk assessment and what people actually encounter day to day, that's what we need to unpack.
Right.
Venezuela consistently shows up as one of the riskiest spots for tourists. Caracas topped a Forbes advisor survey for riskiest cities.
I saw that. Highest health security and crime risk, they said.
Exactly. And then you layer on the U.S. State Department's Level 4 advisory.
Which is do not travel. The highest level. Crystal clear warning.
Couldn't be clear. But then you read these accounts from people who've actually been recently being careful, and it's a different story. They talk about feeling relatively safe, once they figure out the logistics, and this incredible, human kindness that just bowls them over.
Okay, so that's our mission for this deep dive then.
Yeah.
Let's try and get past those headlines. Understand the practical stuff you have to do, the daily headaches you're definitely going to face.
Oh, guaranteed.
And also where those moments of, real human connection actually come from.
We really have to start with those official warnings, though. They're not just noise. They reflect a very dangerous reality on the ground. The statistics, they're grim.
How grim are we talking?
Well, Venezuela has one of the highest murder rates in the world. There was a local NGO estimate for Caracas, historically, around 120 homicides per 100,000 people.
120 per 100,000. That's astronomical.
It is. And it's not just homicides. Armed robbery, carjacking, muggings, they're common and often extremely violent.
So if you're a traveler, what specific dangers do the sources highlight? Beyond just, general crime.
Express kidnappings are a huge issue. That's where they grab you for quick cash.
Right.
The sources say it often happens when people are followed maybe into their building's garage or just while driving. And crucially, foreigners have been targeted right out of hotels, even from the airport terminal.
Wow. So not just opportunistic street stuff? Organized.
Seems like it, and this is where it gets even more complicated. The issue of corruption within the security forces themselves.
You mean the police?
Yeah.
National Guard.
Yes. There are reports, disturbing ones, of people in uniform committing crimes against travelers. It muddies the water completely.
So the people meant to protect you might be the threat.
Exactly. And there's history here. Past investigations apparently pointed to police involvement in a huge percentage of kidnappings in Caracas, like maybe 80% at one point.
80%? That
Yeah.
fundamentally changes how you navigate things.
It does. You can't just assume a uniform means safety.
Okay, so those are the official stats, the institutional warnings.
Bleak.
How does that square with travelers saying they felt relatively safe? It seems impossible.
It's definitely cognitive dissonance, like you said. One person we read about said Caracas was far from the criminal hell they expected.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were super cautious, obviously, clutching their bag, phone hidden away, especially at first. But they said that anxiety eased a bit as they got used to safer areas and used reliable transport.
So adapting their behavior based on the immediate environment.
Precisely. And you see tiny signs of things maybe shifting slightly, like people apparently feel okay taking their phones out on the metro in Caracas now, which wasn't the case a few years ago.
A small thing, but telling. People finding ways to cope, maybe establishing slightly safer zones or routines.
Right. And another source, a solo female traveler, she reported feeling safe, even using night buses between cities.
Wow, okay.
But, and it's a big but, she stressed the need for constant caution, planning everything meticulously. Basically, the kind of vigilance you'd need in any high-risk city, just dialed way up.
So the baseline risk is undeniably extreme, but individual experience can vary wildly depending on preparation, awareness, and maybe just luck.
And crucially, who you interact with. That human element seems key.
Right. It sounds like those positive human interactions are almost necessary to balance out the sheer stress of the safety situation. Let's dig into that cultural side. Okay, so moving beyond physical safety.
Yeah.
What about the cultural surprises? Our sources mention this intense directness
Yeah.
in how people interact.
Oh, absolutely. This comes up again and again. It's a real culture shock for many visitors, especially, say, Brits or North Americans used to more reserved interactions.
What does that look like in practice?
You'll have people you've just met, waiters, hotel clerks, someone on the street asking really personal questions straight off the bat, like, do you have kids? Got a boyfriend? How much did your flight cost? What's your rent back home? Things that would feel incredibly intrusive elsewhere.
Whoa. Okay,
Mhm.
instant interrogation. Is it just nosiness or...
The sources suggest it's more about genuine curiosity. Because there are so few tourists now, Venezuelans are apparently really interested in foreigners who do visit. They want to connect, understand your story, skip the small talk.
So it comes from a good place, mostly.
That seems to be the interpretation. One source compared it to, say, Colombia, where mass tourism has maybe diluted some of that intense individual curiosity. Venezuela feels more unfiltered.
Interesting. And this directness, it's paired with incredible warmth, right? That seems to be the counterbalance.
Completely. The sources are just full of these unexpected moments of kindness, little gestures that leave a huge impression.
Can you give an example?
Sure. One traveler mentioned a street vendor who absolutely insisted on giving them an old vinyl record just as a gift, souvenir.
Just gave it to him.
Yeah. Or a bookseller in Merida slipping a novel into their bag, saying it was a memento of Merida. People inviting you into their homes or shops for coffee, offering you an arepa. It's reported as almost a daily thing.
That's amazing. That spontaneous generosity must make a huge difference when you're dealing with all the other hassles.
It seems to be the emotional core of the positive experience. This persistent, deep human warmth helps people push through the practical headaches.
And you see hints of the country's history and cultural mix in other ways too, right? Like through food or architecture.
Definitely. Travelers notice these clues about waves of migration.
Like the shawarma place in Merida you mentioned, with staff switching between Arabic and Spanish.
Exactly. That's a perfect little snapshot. Or finding Chinese-owned shops in Barquisimeto where people are speaking Mandarin. Or German bakeries up in Colonia Tovar.
Colonia Tova, right, the German settlement in the mountains.
Yeah, and even the national dish, pabellón criollo.
Shredded beef, rice, beans, plantains.
Right. It's seen as representing the mix of indigenous, Spanish, and African influences. The culture itself is layered, resilient.
Okay, so that human warmth sounds incredible, essential even, because as soon as you step away from that friendly chat, you hit the practical stuff, the daily grind. Let's talk money.
Ah, money, yes. This is a huge source of frustration. The local currency, the bolivar, well, hyperinflation has made it almost unusable for bigger things.
So U.S. dollars are king.
Absolutely essential. But just having dollars isn't enough. You need the right kind of dollars.
What do you mean?
Small bills. Loads of them. Ones, fives, maybe tens. Trying to break a $20, let alone a $50 or $100, is apparently a nightmare. Nobody has change.
Okay, so stock up on small notes. Got it. Anything else?
They have to be perfect. Pristine. Sources say people will reject notes with the tiniest tear, a mark, a fold even.
Reject a U.S. dollar bill. Why?
It seems to be about trust and the difficulty of exchanging damaged notes later. Because the bolivar is so unstable, the physical USD notes are treated like precious objects. Any imperfection makes them suspect. It's like you're trading in a commodity, not just currency.
Wow. Okay, that adds a whole layer of stress. And card payments, are they easier?
Huh. Not necessarily. It's totally unpredictable. A tiny street stall might miraculously take your international card.
Yeah.
Then a big hotel, especially outside Caracas, might not. It's very inconsistent.
And then there's the PIN situation. This one sounds wild.
It is wild. It's a massive culture shock. You go to pay in a cafe or shop, and they ask you to literally shout out your 4-digit PIN number.
Shout it out loud.
Yes. So the cashier can type it into their machine. Apparently, this is just normal, countrywide.
I can't even imagine. What about security? Privacy?
It seems like those concerns are secondary to just making the transaction happen in a system that's maybe unreliable. It's bizarre by international standards.
Is that related to why you have to give out passport numbers and stuff too?
Very likely. Paying by card, checking into hotels, buying bus tickets. Sources say you often have to provide personal ID numbers like your passport number. It's a high-friction, low-privacy environment for basic transactions.
And all this relies on the power grid, right? Which is shaky.
Very shaky, especially outside the capital. Frequent electricity cuts mean no Wi-Fi, no mobile signal.
So no card payments possible anyway, even if you were willing to shout your PR.
Exactly. Cash becomes even more critical then. Which brings us back to needing those perfect, small U.S. dollar bills.
It's a cycle. And what about other infrastructure, like fuel?
Fuel shortages are common too. And when you do find a gas station, you often pay a flat USD amount, like $20 or $30 for a fill-up.
Okay.
But they usually can't give change. So again, you need the exact amount in those pristine notes. It's relentless.
Okay, given all these challenges, the safety risks, the money issues, the infrastructure problems, let's boil down some essential tips for anyone listening who might be, well, brave enough to consider a visit. What's the consensus on getting around safely?
Right. In the cities, the advice is pretty clear. Steer clear of public transport like the metro or buses.
Too risky. Robberies.
Very high risk, apparently, especially for a foreigner who's likely carrying cash, those dollars we talked about.
So what's the alternative? Taxis?
Pre-booked, reputable taxis, yes. Or, interestingly, local ride-sharing apps seem to be popular and considered safer. Apps like Yummy Rides or Ridery, they're kind of the local Uber equivalents.
Okay, Yummy Rides and Ridery. That's a super practical tip. What about flying in and out? Any specific warnings there?
Yes, Maiquetía International Airport, the main one for Caracas. It gets specifically mentioned as a hotspot for crime.
What kind of crime?
Everything from petty theft to armed robbery. Especially, the sources warn, traveling to or from the airport at night. Booking secure, pre-arranged transport is highly recommended. Don't just hail a cab outside.
Got it. Secure airport transfer. What else? Documentation.
Always carry copies of your passport, the photo page, and your entry stamp page.
Copies, not the original.
Copies are generally advised for carrying around day to day. Security checkpoints are common, and the police or National Guard might ask for ID. If you can't produce anything, you could apparently face detention, so keep copies on you, original locked up safely.
Right. Good advice anywhere, but especially crucial there, it sounds like. Any other sort of surprising details people should be aware of?
Yeah, a few things stood out. One was the cost of some everyday items. Despite the economic crisis, certain things can be surprisingly expensive compared to neighboring countries. It's uneven.
Huh.
Also, long-distance buses. Apparently, they crank the air conditioning up to Arctic levels, like seriously cold. Pack warm layers for the bus.
Siberian temperatures on a bus in Venezuela. Didn't see that coming.
Me neither. And another paradox. In big cities, you might notice less rush hour traffic than you'd expect.
Why is that?
The sad reality is it's partly because so many people have left the country. The crisis has led to significant emigration, so cities can feel emptier.
That's a really stark visual indicator of the bigger problems.
It is. But then the flip side, the thing that constantly surprises visitors in a good way, is the natural beauty.
Ah, yes, that comes through strongly.
Absolutely. The sources rave about it. The cloud forests around Merida, the hills in Táchira State, seeing colorful macaws flying right over Caracas.
And the Catatumbo lightning.
Yeah, that amazing natural phenomenon over Lake Maracaibo. Those moments of incredible beauty seem to provide this vital contrast to all the difficulties. Hashtag outro.
So wrapping this up, what's the core takeaway from this deep dive? It seems Venezuela presents this intense paradox.
Yeah.
The sources confirm it's not the easiest place to be a foreign visitor. That feels like an understatement, frankly, given the safety issues, the infrastructure chaos we've discussed.
A massive understatement.
But almost every account also calls it a rewarding one. And that reward seems to come down almost entirely to the Venezuelan people. There's warmth, there's resilience.
And that stunning natural beauty.
Right. Provided you go in with eyes wide open, fully prepared for that practical gauntlet.
Which leads to a final thought, something for you, the listener, to maybe mull over. We've heard about the high corruption rates, even security forces involved in crime like kidnapping.
Yeah.
And yet, travelers are often advised locally to trust your instincts, rely on that human connection. How do you actually balance that advice with the stark warnings about institutional failure? Where do you draw the line?
That's a tough one. Trusting your gut versus trusting the data, especially when the data says even the institutions might be compromised.
Exactly. And think about that PI number thing. What does a society where you openly share your bank PIN reveal about its relationship with privacy and security, especially when compared to its documented safety risks? It's something to think about.